protect contracts. Contracts are important. That's what makes a market work. You make promises, and you are obligated to fulfill those promises. And if not, the government should be involved in making sure that that is taken care of. But today, the government breaks more promises than they enforce. For instance, there has been many times over the many years that they have broke their promises on the monetary issue. The government had promised at one time to pay their bonds off in gold, and individuals promised to pay their bonds off in gold. But even at the Civil War period and in the Depression, the government just redeemed on this. They removed it and said, oh no, you don't have to pay in gold. They did the opposite. The government is supposed to be there to protect the honesty of money, and now they're the chief counterfeiters. So we have allowed our government to get totally out of control. Somebody said if only Congress weren't in session so much, we would be better off. But the problem is, it's irrelevant. Congress has practically made themselves irrelevant. You think we need Congress to go to war? No, the president decides when to go to war. Now you think you don't have enough money, well, you go to the Fed and you get a check. The Fed can create money out of thin air. They can give money to foreign governments, foreign central banks, and international financial organizations without the permission of Congress. And then if you ask them to look at the books, they turn us down. So it's absolutely out of control. Our CIA is totally out of control. They work in secrecy. They initiate wars. They drop bombs on civilians and kill civilians around the world. And they're not supposed to be in a military operation. Matter of fact, they shouldn't even be doing most of the things that they do. The whole idea that the government is under control right now is not true. Our executive branch writes laws. And they write regulations. Those are laws. They shouldn't do this. And if the president not too long ago said, well, if Congress doesn't rapidly hurry up and do this, pass this law dealing with the environment, I'll just write an executive order. I think it was somebody with the Clinton administration said, stroke with a pen, law of the land. Kind of cool. I mean, they think that's funny. It's kind of dangerous. It's kind of horrible to think that we have allowed it. We can't just blame the executive branch or the legislative branch. We people have allowed this to happen. But fortunately, right now, why we should be so excited is that people are waking up and they're saying enough is enough. Tragic that we haven't won the moral high ground on arguing on economic policies. The left and the interventionists and the socialists say they care about people. We who believe in liberty don't care about people. We care to make sure that they have free medical care and free education and make sure they have jobs. And look at the results. Jobs are going by, they're losing their houses, the educational system is dysfunctional. Thank goodness that we still have the right, and hopefully we can keep it, that we can have homeschooling to sort of counteract some of the problems. I don't know what's wrong with what the Republicans had in their platform back in 1980. Remember the old days? When we get in office, we're going to get rid of the Department of Education. We don't need it. But what happened in the year 2000? Finally, the Republicans, after all those years, get control of the House and the Senate and the presidency. Now they're going to clean house and get their house in order. So what did they do? They doubled the size of the Department of Education. They ran up the deficit, all the spending, expanded the wars around the world, passed Sarbanes-Oxley, Feingold, McCain-Feingold, and prescription drug programs. That's all by the Republicans. Yep. Now, where did they earn, where did those people who voted for all that earn the right now to condemn what Obama's doing? Yep. I mean, they haven't. That is why it's up to you. Keep their feet to the fire, because most of them will still be there, and most of them are saying, yeah, we agree with you, we're going to do better this time. Well, you better make sure they do better. And I actually am optimistic enough to think they will do better. Mainly because they don't have control of the presidency, and it will be a partisan thing, and they'll say, let's stick it to the presidents, and we'll send them and pass them a good bill. But anyway, we'll take it any way we can get it. So no, I think there'll be some holding action. This this thing won't be turned around overnight, but the only thing that really counts is the philosophy that people hold. If you believe in liberty and freedom and property and sound money, that's what eventually we'll have in Washington. Finally, when the people gave up on the Soviet system, they just walked away. The government became dysfunctional and bankrupt. The people walked away, and their government crumbled. It was all over. And that will happen here, and that won't be all that terrible either. Under those conditions, one function of government that we've talked about many times over the years will come into fruition, and that is nullification will be the way to work. People will just nullify. The great fear, of course, is that it's conducive for violence, and that, of course, is what I strive for, is try to prevent that. And I think all the bad ideas and all the things that they have done to us and pretending to do for us can be counteracted with better ideas. So better economic ideas are the best way to counteract the bad economic ideas. And those ideas, these views are being received better now than ever before. Believe me, even 2 or 3 years ago, mentioning an audience like this about Austrian economics, and people would look at you and wonder. The other thing is, 3 years ago or 4 years ago, I only had about 30 people sitting out here anyway. So the numbers of people are growing, and it's not me that has done it. It has been the people, the teachers, the internet, and everybody that has written for 30 or 40 years and trying to hold this together. We have all had a glimpse of what this country was about. We know and understand what it was, and I think a lot of us are realizing that we're losing it. So the groundwork has been laid. The opportunity is there because economically we're in big trouble, and we can't continue to feed it with more inflation and more spending. It's sort of like treating a drug addict. You know, the drug addict comes in. If you don't treat him, he dies. But if you treat him and take him off the drugs, he gets pretty angry and upset and annoyed. And that's the way it is in Washington. Most of the members of Congress, they would probably cut back and vote for it, but if that's what they think you want. But there will be so many symptoms from it. So the withdrawal symptoms are so bad. That's why it's hard to expect that they really will get down to brass tacks and start doing the right things. Unfortunately, I think it will continue to make things worse, and that's going to be very bad economically and politically, because that will lead eventually to a dollar crisis. That means that you can't keep printing money forever. You know, we got into this crisis because for all these many decades, within the total destruction of the gold standard in 1971, we have been following this idea that deficits don't matter, and conservatives offered that as a program as well. There's been many on the conservative side that deficits don't matter, lower tax rate, we will get more money from the government, and we won't have to raise taxes. I never want to get more money for the government, even if the rates would. But no, the people in this country are starting to realize, you know, what the advantages are of changing things. That's where I think I'm very, very encouraged to know that so many people are saying that we will change this. And when that comes about, of course, we will have to replace it with something. And the replacement has to be well done. There's a lot of activity in the Tea Party movement, and I think that is delightful. And I think that this is an expression, but it's also very important to be more than just opposed to the mess in Washington. There is a mess, and we need to do something, but we have to have other proposals. We have to be explicit about what the monetary policy ought to be and why the budget should be balanced, and all these efforts to offer something as an alternative. And this is what the Campaign for Liberty and the Young Americans for Liberty would like to offer. You know, some precise answers.